Welcome to the second part of the Adam online program in December. Um, Last week was a series of program curated by Australian dancer and choreographer Angela Go, and this week we have an entire new series of contests that we'll be so happy to share with all of you all around the world. Um, the song that I just played as the welcoming song is The Currency, made by the artist today. Well, now I'm going to introduce a little bit the context of the program today before the artist share their research project. Um, Confronting the ongoing pandemic with its disturbance, transformation of, and reminders to our contemporary art and society, Adam, that normally serve as the international gathering platform for artists to work together, has been also turned online. And this year, Adam presents research rehearsing for the future project, which is a research sharing funding project supporting new and work in progress project by artists from across regions and performative disciplines to work together. Today we are presenting the currency proof of ambiguity. The currency is a long-term collaboration between artists Alan Vanset, um, Musici Chi, and Gregor Casper. Alam is the Tongolese artist, activist, poet, rapper, performer, and filmmaker. He's also CEO of independent Tongolese music label Ahaspo Records. Jing is a Taiwanese filmmaker and visual artist based in Berlin and Taiwan. Gregor is German artist working with sound, film, and installation. Through this the currency project, they have together delivered and integrated their cross-continent points of view to investigate pre-colonial history, challenging capitalistic and colonial power structures and social encounters to further imagine the future art ecosystem. Today, we have also a special guest, John Tan, head of research at Asia Art Archive, AAA, based in Hong Kong. John will join the conversation later on with us to expand the knowledge and exchange and questions and comments of the project. Now, Alan, Ching, and Gregor, the stage is yours.
Thank you so much, River. Can you hear me? Great. So I will just share my screen, and then can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Great. Hello, everyone. My name is Chi Ying, and today with Gregor and Ellen, we will present you our ongoing research project, the currency proof of ambiguity. And I will start to introduce some background, and Gregor and Ellen, they will just also together we will also sharing our experience. Firstly, before we start to introduce all our projects, I want to introduce you firstly what we are researching at the moment. So during our research with Adam and the project of proof of ambiguity, at the beginning we were thinking about how can we perform with our researching material. And around a few months ago, we start to notice this a place called Baboloshi in Ghana, where they collect. It's probably one of the biggest place they collect the most. They call that EEE, which is electronic equipment waste. So you can imagine a lot of device and computer and iPhone where we use and broken might be all sent to this place. So it's not sure where are all the most waste come from, but probably mostly from USA. But there is no any data can prove that. So this is a dump, electricity device dump nearby a Kole Lagoon. It's in the city Accra in Ghana. And from the data from 2011, there is around at least 40,000 people who live inside or actually sustain this economic system inside this area, which means you can imagine inside this Abablashi, there are their own economy going on. People are selling, people are collecting, people are, we call that mining. Like they mine all these devices because in all these waste device, there's still a lot of valuable metal, very little, some gold or aluminium or copper. So the people actually go there to deconstruct the device and try to remine all this waste again. But the problem is that you can see from the picture here, because they don't have really, or how can I say, all our device which we produce today is not aimed for recycling. So the easiest way to collect all this metal is to burn them down, to burn everything, and then you can have the metal easily. And that actually causes a lot of pollution for air and also for water. And this year, actually just before, around a month ago, Gregor and Ellen, they managed to visit there to have our, so we tried to do some performance gauge in Ababoloshi. So Gregor and Alumni will share more of their experience later. So they went there to do the performance, but we realized actually just before their arrival in July, 1st of July, the government decided to demolish the whole area. And the reason for that is mainly because this is quasi a ghetto of the city, and actually since 90s, the government already have the plan how to rechange this area, but this area still stay the same till this year, July. And in the 1st of July, there was a lot of army and policemen went into the area and tried to evict the people and demolish the place. But it doesn't mean the garbage and all the e-waste disappear. From the documents I read and also from Gregor and Ellen, they told, I think now all these waste actually just separate into different area, hidden area in the city. They are not gathered together, but they are just separated. But then at least people don't see this huge dump in the city anymore. But what very interesting today is that there are still people there and still mining, but rather than recycling all the material above the earth, people try to dig into the earth. So because this Aboboloshi has been there since 90s till today, so that's already 20, 30 years. So there's a lot of things and metals and trash actually underneath the earth. So some very poor people or who can't sustain to move away, they are trying still back to this area, start to dig the earth and try to go deeper to find if there's any metal left. So it's become another way of mining after the remove of the Aboboloshi. So maybe Ellen and Gregor, you want to also share some information when you were what you see and what you heard from there, and after that, Gregor will show you some performing sketches they did in there. I will pass the mic to you, Gregor.
Hello, can you hear me? Okay, so yes, as Chiang just told you that Ellen and me 3 weeks ago, we went to Accra and to Akubloshi to visit the place, to do some field research there. And we just 2 days before we were there, we got to know that this place that existed for more than 20 years was abolished 2 or 3 months ago. So in the beginning, we planned to go there and go to the different people who are working there and to see all these great e-waste sites. And there were in the last years a couple of documentary films and also a music video from the British pop band Placebo. And we just want to go there and because this is one of the biggest e-waste sites in the world. There are, for example, there are 2 other big sites in China, in the, I think it's in Guangdong, or?
Yes, it's in Guiyu, in Guangdong province, Guiyu.
Yes. And this e-waste site, they are very interesting for our project, and because in the currency, we are interested in values and also in economic values and in spiritual values. And in this e-waste site, there's a very big transformation of values from raw materials and economical and also data. So on very different levels, there's a very interesting transformation process going on. And we just want to look how is it exactly in Akubloshi, and next year we hopefully also going to China and visiting the other e-waste sites. But after we arrived in Akubloshi, we saw, okay, now it's demolished by the state, and now it's something like a post-apocalyptic field. And we still found it very interesting. And we changed our plan and do another performance now in this post-apocalyptic site, and thinking also about today the world is in a big crisis everywhere, and also since centuries. And after capitalism maybe fall down and there will be this post-apocalyptic site, what people can relate to that after the economic. And this we are reflecting in the short video we are showing you in some seconds. Maybe Ellen, you want to have a short comment from your perspective?
Yeah, maybe I will add something very quickly. I think what touched me when we went on the ground is the fact that people still digging when, even though they erase the place. So that aspect of recycling that touched me, like, okay, this place no more existing because you don't have raw material on the ground. But as you can see in the next video, people still coming with stone, still digging and taking part of the thing. So I think, as you said, it's not just the apocalyptic on the ruins of that, of the capitalism. There will still be something that people can still continue to recycle. And when talking about currency, about we, for instance, like from CFA to ECO, what we need is not recycled, but to come with something new. So yeah, how can you build something on the ruins of capitalism? This is what touched me when we went on the ground. Thank you.
Okay, then now I will show you the video. It's a short sketch of 7 minutes. In the beginning of the session, you heard this song. This is from the record we did last year, and now we are on a new phase of the project. And now we are starting to do an experimental 360-degree VR film. So we went there and filmed with a 360-degree camera, and also with a normal a DSLM camera. And later we will we are planning that people watching this film with VR glasses, but because today we have this online session, we added a short video that combines the 360-degree material with like normal material, just to give you an insight in the aesthetics of the material and what we saw there. So, but what you're seeing now will be quite different from the end product later, but it still gives you an impression. So I start the screen sharing now.
And you might still don't understand why we are all doing this. So I will just introduce from the beginning how our project and our meeting starts. And I will share my screen again. So we have to thank Adam and also Rivers invitation for this chance, because otherwise we didn't have a chance to really go further. And although Alan, he himself is a very professional musician, but also he actually produced a lot of documentary film. And we all have this interest of how to make documentary film today. So this chance from Adam provide us a little experiment chance to really use different device and also try some different topics which we didn't reach before. But I want to bring you to the very beginning, how we met each other. So it was in 2018. Alan, he as a professional musician, rap music, and also very strong activist in the West African continent. He and also 10, in total there was 10 musicians together. They made a song called 7 Minutes Against CFA. As you can see from the screen's left-hand side. And what is CFA? CFA is it's a currency used in a francophone country in West African continent, in many countries in West Africa. And it's basically, you can understand as a colonial currency. It's a start from the colonial franc and still kind of transformed, but still be used today. And in 2018, Elon invited also, I think, 9 other artists together. They made this one piece, one song, use the rap music as a format to discuss the political problem of this CFA. Because it means that the currency or the economy in West Africa, in the Francophone countries, still under the control by France and also Europe. And that was a time when me and Gregor, we traveled to Togo, where actually Alan mostly based. And we heard about this piece and we thought it's very, very interesting approach. That's why we contact him. And then that's how our cooperation and our friendship started. And then we decided to make a new song, which is on our right-hand side in the screen. It's called The Currency. Rather than talk about CFA, what we want to approach through this new cooperation is what's the future. So in our definition is CFA or ECO. ECO is the currency France proposed, which gonna replace CFA in the future, but basically structurally still same as CFA. About ECO, I believe Ellen will explain more later, but here I will just quickly go through to let you know about our new projects, the currency. So we want to propose what will be the future if CFA or ECO be replaced. And what we can see from our standing point right now is that there is a very high potentials that probably digital payment will replace, which we call fiat money or like traditional cash. However, the digital payment is now a lot of infrastructures are constructed not only by the local business, but a lot of parts are from the Chinese fintech and also the big technology companies such as Ant or Alipay, as you know. So in our album, we made a song called The Currency. We discuss what might happen in the future and what can be the influence of the new digital payment system will not replace the colonial franc. And is that a kind of a new colonialism, or what it can be? That was our question in this album. And so we also show this song as installation in some different museum or art space as installation. So people can come to the space and listen to music. And on the other side of the album, the vinyl, it's actually a vinyl which with as you can see, it's a gold color, because we want to make this looks like the electric chip, or you might can understand as this they call that electric wafer, which is how we produce all the chip today. So it's like this big size of circle. And so the companies such as TSM from Taiwan or Samsung from South Korea, they are competing who can produce the biggest or the best this electric wafer. And this big wafer nowadays today is almost the same as the size of the vinyl. And that's how we kind of try to symbolically use this as a format. On the B side of the vinyl, there is an interview between us and an architect from Togo called Sename. And it's actually where, so Sename is an architect who is trying to do like a very avant-garde and very strong activist perspective architect plan in Togo, in Lomé. He's building, and also with many different local architects and artists, he's building this community called Wall Lab. It's actually where Ellen is right now at the moment. He will also introduce us about Wall Lab and show us around the space. And just give some more inputs from my side is, so this year, Gregor and Ellen, they organize also a lab inside the Wall Lab. It's combined of the workshop, discussion, and exhibitions. And so they use the Wall Lab as a multifunction space and engage different artists from different continents and all talk about the problem of the currency. So it was art piece from different artists, and also they invite lecturers or scholars such as Amtat, and also talk with Sename and different scholars here. I think from this point, I will pass the microphone to Ellen and Gregor. Maybe you can introduce us more about the workshop you organized.
Yes, thank you, Xi. Just looking at the time, so maybe we just be very, very short, because we also want to have a conversation. So in May and June in Lomé in Togo, we made this exhibition because there was a big conference at the university in Lomé, where for the first time in West Africa was critically spoken about the CFA and the ECHO. And we used this opportunity like for this discourse that is on this university level and all this academic thinking. We also thought it's important to have an artistic perspective of this conversation, because there were a lot of projects from African and Afro-diasporic artists who already thinking about the decolonization of the money in the African context. And we like want to also show and present this, so that the audience in Lomé can also have like on other levels reflect about these issues. And yeah, Ilim, do you want to add something short or?
Something short for sure. Yes, let's say very quickly. I just want to come back about what she said about CFA to ECHO. So ECHO is the new currency that France is proposing, and this exhibition we did it in the framework of a colloquium that happened at the University of Lomé from a perspective of intellectuals like economists. So what we did here is like a kind of space where we can give also our thought about currency, but not on the perspective of intellectual, in quote, like non-economists, like artists. So we invest this space. I would like to show you a little bit. I'm upstairs here, and this place is like a kind of space, a vernacular space. Put like a vernacular space, like it's not an institutional space, but a space where artists can come and critics and do things differently. So why people are were at the university, which is considered like place where people think like thinkers place, where we think that we have to invest in new kind of places to discuss the question of currencies. So it involved artists from all over the world, African artists, but not just. And those people who were thinking about currency already, but also people who are still thinking on it. So apart from the exhibition, I will show you very quickly what remains from the exhibition. We have also laboratories where people were together thinking about what are the new ways, what are the future, what are the things we can do in the future. And I'm insisting on the fact of using this space. I can show you right now. So this was one of the bigger banners that we did here, like a QR code. So it was here. I don't know if you can see it very quickly. You have exhibition around this place. And here, oh, sorry, people are working here, sorry. You can still see the text of our song, the QR code, even the vinyl is here. Hello, sorry, people still working here. I'm disturbing, you see? And you can also have like this kind of currencies that have been done by artists, you know, and then also this exhibition from people from Chimurenga-based in South Africa. So basically, that was the idea. What are the new perspective? How we people who don't understand anything about economy, how do we perceive the currency and the challenges that go with them? So basically, this is what I want to put in a nutshell. Thank you.
So
I guess, should we go to the, maybe you want to talk about Eva, the interview, or
maybe because we're only having a little bit more than 15 minutes, maybe we go to John and to the audience for a discussion.
Sure.
Okay, so is it my turn then to talk?
Yes,
Yeah.
please.
Yes, please.
Okay. Yeah, so thank you so much. That was really fantastic to hear more about the currency proof of ambiguity project. And I have it's like, it was really stimulating presentations by all three of you, and I have a lot of thoughts, but I thought I would maybe one productive way to just kind of keep it to a couple of these points. There were a few things that I thought would be really interesting to hear you speak a little more about this project. I first heard about this, I think when the project was presented as part of the Readings from Below exhibition at the Times Art Center that Asia Art Archive was also involved with. And so that's when I first learned about the project. So it's great to hear more. So thank you for that. And I was wondering if you could say a little more on the one hand about the kind of the trans-regional, because I think it's fairly unusual or special for three artists coming from Africa, Europe, and China to be working together on a project, and not just working on a project, but a project that actually involves all three regions, right? Because I mean, we're talking about a currency. With the CFA, which if I'm not mistaken, stands for Colonie Française d'Afrique, right? So the French colonies of Africa. So the colonial kind of history of that is not any clearer in the name of the currency, right? so there's that, but then the kind of the replacement of the CFA by an alternate form of currency, right, which is probably going to involve Chinese technology. So, you know, the kind of replacement of one colonizer maybe by potentially by another colonizer is something that, you know, motivates maybe the project beyond the fact that the three of you met in 2018, right? So that's kind of really interesting. I don't know, maybe I'll let you speak there, and then if we have time, I'll ask you some more another question. Is that good?
Yeah. Very quickly, can I say something very quickly before maybe I'll leave Chi or Gregor respond? The name, they've changed the name of CFA. Initially it was Colonie Française d'Afrique, but it becomes Communauté Française Africaine.
Oh, yeah.
Française Africaine. But me as a rapper, I used to tell people that, yes, and that song, the song that I did, I said, oh, we are talking about Echo. But my true name, when I was born, my name was Colonie Française d'Afrique, just to make people remember that that was the original name of it. And even though it's changing forms, it's recycled. The main idea was that they want to have an eye on our economy. Just to mention this for those people following us. Thank you.
Yeah.
So I'll leave maybe Chi and Gregor to, and I'll add if need be.
Thank you, John, for the question. I think it's also for us always because we are all have originally have our own practice, but when we come together, we always have different ideas and sharing. So we're also learning from each other a lot, especially for me and Gregor. We studied together before in Germany, and then actually that was the reason we want to research about the German colonialism in Togo. That was the beginning, the reason how we came to Togo. So I would say this coloniality and the research how we see the coloniality today is probably the central focus, how it's bound us together. And then through this, as you say, you just mentioned this cross-continental cooperation, we all bring our different perspective because because during my research, I realized either from German side, from Europe side, or from Togo or from African side, there's a lack of discussion from also this Chinese speaking perspective, because you know a lot of China is engaged in the African affair today very deeply, but they are not in the local level from the people to people, daily to daily life. There is not really much interactions, also because the language barriers, I guess. So I think for me, it's important to discuss, because especially when you talk about international affairs, it's also important that in the group or in our cooperation, there is also different opinions circling around. And yeah, maybe Gregor also can share some of your opinion.
Yes, so because we are living in this global world, and if you want to speak about one issue or one problem, then it's not enough just maybe to speak about the connections between Europe and Africa, or between China and Africa. You need to think through all this and the connection between this, because these connections shape each other, the world we are living in. And so it's a great opportunity that we got to know Ilham, and that we are now really working on a deeper level together and sharing our experiences. Because then if you are like also seeing other sides where not every day, then it's so enriching and enlightening, and also widen your own view. And also this because in our project, the currency, we are also thinking about the future of the world, and we are thinking the future of the world can only be if we are like working together. So we need to share our own perspective. We need to learn from each other. We need to see and discuss where are the problems and how we can change it. And so it's for us, it's very important not just like to think about these problems, but in our practice with our bodies and people that we meet, and that like we are building bridges between the eras. And so it's like, yeah, not just thinking, it's also like embodying this, our vision we have.
Yeah, and I think that this question of embodying the vision is something really interesting. Ilham was saying earlier, I think, when he was talking about, the three of you are not necessarily economists or specialists, of financial technology or anything like that. But what I think what he was saying was that, you're interested in thinking about how you perceive it as from the ground, from the grassroots level, people who are living through these changes, right? And in some ways, like giving voice to the experience that I think maybe the larger part of the population experiences these not as things that are, they're responsible for, but that they actually have to kind of, deal with, right? And so on that level, I'm kind of curious about your use of technology, because you're not just investigating the technological changes, but you're also, kind of experimenting with technology itself, like the use of VR, for instance, or even like the way that you communicate. It's not just like, you're producing, as you said, you're not producing a straightforward documentary. You're using this 360 technology. You're using rap music. So can you say a little more about like, the goal of that kind of like rethinking documentary and how you communicate through documentary? How is that part of the goal or the aim of this project? If that's like a kind of a fair question.
Can I say something to start very quickly? I'll try to be very brief. I think we need to change perspectives. And what I love in this project was the fact that we can have perspective from Taiwan, from Germany, and from Togo. It helps to nourish what we want to build together. And I also think I'm a lawyer from my studies background, and I'm a rapper from another background, and I can find out the way intellectuals in code just do things among themselves and not involving people they're supposed to serve. So I think using like music, like rap music, where young people are listening to rap music today. Some young people will go to conference, to PowerPoint, etc. But when you do a documentary, they can watch it. So using these technological tools also help us to bring more people into this discussion. I'll finish by the song 7 Minutes Against CFA. This song we did in 2008, but before 2008, there's many intellectuals, including Kakonu Bukbo, who was the one who led that colloquium at university. He was writing about these topics, but nobody was talking about really with the masses. But once we did that song, it became very popular. Everybody can start talking about it. So I think in terms of technology, everybody have a smartphone. Everybody else on Twitter, on Instagram, on TikTok, and etc. So I think that also to displace, to take some serious subject from where they are to another places. And I think technology, social media, all these things are very important. But most importantly, and I'll finish with it, is to have like also physical spaces like where we are where I am right now, where people can meet. Because in this space, for instance, they create like 3D printers, and you have some of these here by recycling old. I don't know if you can see it well. I don't know how to change my camera, but you see at Well Lab, these people can take things like dustbin and do 3D printers. So for me, it's also about technology. Technology is not just using platforms, etc., but how we can also take these things and recycle them and do something by ourselves for ourselves. I don't know if I was clear, but that's my thinking. Thank you.
I think the World Lab is really amazing when we visit. Firstly, you visit there because they had this. Ellen just showed you they had this very amazing project. They try to use a lot of electricity waste, so like the all this garbage, and they rebuild the 3D printer. That was a kind of it was, I think, also 2-3 years ago. It was like a famous project. And nowadays, Sename, the one of the founder of the World Lab, he also with the other day trying to build their own currency system, which means so currency is basically about exchange, right? Like how I stake the value and how I exchange the value with the others. So that's the basic idea. And then in the World Lab themselves, they are also building their own way of exchange, which means people can use some kind of credits to exchange from food, from plastic recycle, like plastic bags and plastic waste, and then you can change to different labors, and also you know this kind of labor exchange. So they are trying to build alternative economy there. It's very interesting. And also about I think because we all using different material like music, like a documentary, and the reason why we engage in as John just mentioned, different device, different technology, and also we try to use VR. I think it's in the end back to the question how we discussed together about the coloniality and how can we stand today, because it's not fair. The game is not fair because on the one side, who is controlling the economy is so strong, and on the other side, who I define as independent researchers or artists, we don't have as much of enough of economy power or backup to really support us to really understand what's going on. Everything is in a black box. So in that side, in that perspective, I think networking and exchange become unbelievable important, which means we're back to the question, how we work together, how the liquidity of cooperation can be exchanged. And that's why we use this term proof of ambiguity. We might don't know each other's language, we might don't know what we are thinking, but there must be a way we can work together. And that's how all the artists include Adam, the project, and include you, John, AAA, and everybody, how we can find a way to share information and try to work together. I think technology can play also a very useful device through our cooperation. That's maybe some of my input. Okay, I will maybe Gregor want to say something too?
Yeah, we are interested also in this digital technologies because in the mainstream there's this view, the future is digital and it will solve our problems of the world, but we are also interested in this combination between these digital techniques and these old analog techniques. Because like sometimes the main goals of these digital techniques already exist maybe some hundreds or some thousand years ago. So that like the digital is a very interesting tool, and you can it's good to use it, but it's not this thing that solves all your problems. And it's also interesting for us to analog medium, and we have this golden color because it's also reminds us of the coins. But then also, as Jing said, this is also like today this wafer chip where all our computer chips are made from. And also in this record, we also have a QR code, so you can scan this code on the record, and then you can also listen to the music digitally. So we are also interested in this interwoven things between the medium, and this is all connected. And if you connect them, then you have more layers, and you can reflect deeper on the topics. Thank you.
Yes, I also, well, thank you for the sharings and conversation. I wonder if there any audience member would like to pose questions or comments, or simply share the reflexive situation of yours.
If not, I have one more question, but we can also wait a minute to see if the audience has any questions.
Yes. So if you are not comfortable by speaking, you can also type in the chat box if you have any comments or thoughts. All right.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and ask my question since I have the microphone.
I thought you were saying that you just go ahead, please.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
you can go ahead.
you didn't talk about, well, you talked a little about this at the beginning of the evening. You were saying that, so this is a project not only with, so the part that we just saw was the result of the work that you did in the last few weeks. And the plan that you have is that, there was a part that was going to be that was aglobashi, and then the next leg is supposed to take place later in 2022 in Guangzhou, and then in Berlin. So, given the kind of the way that this is not necessarily the most original question, but like in some ways it's a kind of a very kind of real one in the sense that, we are living through this moment when travel is not necessarily, what you would expect it to be. So can you say a little about how the pandemic has kind of like, either thrown a wrench into the plans that you had, or kind of forced you to work differently in terms of working together, or even, just traveling, right? Like for the two of you to meet, maybe it wasn't so easy, to go to Ghana, for instance, for you two to meet in Ghana. So how has this kind of forced you to improvise or innovate in the way that you work together?
Can I start, please, again? Very quickly to share an experience. I think what is very interesting about this project for me, my perspective, is how can we flip the perspective? I think the world is going in kind of situation where we need to reinvent ourselves. So clearly, the terrestrial borders of Togo and Ghana was closed. But when Gregor said, Elon, we need to do that thing, I said, I have to find my way to go there. So even though the borders were closed, I find a way, like have people who help you to cross the border and go and go in there. And I think that's kind of metaphor, or also about what we as artists we need to bring into the world, showing that a German, a Taiwan guy, a Togolese guy can be together. But even though when there's obstacles, we can find a way to go around obstacles. So yes, there were, like, for instance, because of COVID-19, this colloquium that at university, the first thing we supposed to do was at the University of Lomé. Like, they have their places doing conference every day, and we plan like a big show. That was the first plan, what we would like to do in the first place. And finally, because of COVID-19, we cannot have that kind of concert, of show. So we say, okay, if that's way, why not coming back to Wellab? You see, so constantly reinventing ourselves to go to meet our goals. I think this is what also is interesting in this project. Thank you. I will leave Gregor and Chi to continue.
Jean, maybe you can show the last slide of the PowerPoint, because there we have this imagination how our end product will be, or the end presentation.
Sure. Yeah, just quickly. Yes.
And
yeah, I was just sharing. Yeah, I mean, the pandemic does affect a lot for me. For example, there is 2 times my plan to join the trip was canceled, and then and hopefully in few weeks in January we will meet Alan in Lomé. Hope the situation doesn't go worse. So we are planning also go in the middle of January, and hope we can also expand our discussion and research soon. And actually we are still trying different materials. So as I say at the beginning, that we are interested in how to really build up a perspective to understand the topic. So performance and music and also workshop are the mediums which we try to approach the topic. And in the future, we also, so through this Adam's project, we start to envision how, if this gonna be a performance, and how can we perform our documentary materials, and how can the material be performative for the audience? That's the question we start to think. And because Alan also have a very strong performance and music background, so we might also engage to do some like live music performance together while showing the documentary material. Gregor, you want to also say something, right?
Yes, so we are also thinking with this VR technique. It's relatively new, but it's becoming more and more accessible also for like the normal people. So the technique becomes cheaper, but also it becomes more flexible and better. And we are also interested in the question for how can we present a VR film and a VR slash performance. And so just to try new things out. And so we are thinking it would be cool that in the future we're having like everyone in the audience have his own VR glass, and then there will be also a live music performance, so people can see with the glasses the film, but also there will be this live sound in the room and in the space. And so we are also interested in mixing this digital sphere and this analog sphere. And also because this, if you're having this VR glasses on and you're watching a film, it's a very immersive experience, but also it can be not very critical because you're very in the situation and in a film, and it's just like a nice experience, but maybe your head turns off. And so we are also thinking about how can we do like a critical VR film where people on the one hand are immersed, but on the other hand not losing their critical minds. And yeah, we are thinking about how we can combine this and combine the digital and the analog space. And I think in the next 1 or 2 years, we will try different things and see in which direction we will go.
Okay, thanks. And I think there's a question from Patrick. Patrick, would you like to ask the question yourself, or do you want me to read it out?
Okay, let's go. You can explain it.
Okay. So Patrick asks the question: African countries struggle to manage their waste. They also recover it from abroad. Should we continue by asking for more, or should we think of a new path for this transaction, which always takes the path of donation and legacy?
Maybe just a short before we speak about this. Patrick was with us in Accra. He's also from Togo, and we are working also since 2-3 years together. So it's very nice that he can manage to be with us today now.
Mm.
But this question is tough. Maybe Alan can answer later, I guess.
I think that question maybe is not for we as artists. I think it's clear that I would once again take the example of where we are right now at Wela. Normally, the way managing waste should be something the government should do normally. But the thing also from our perspective as activists is not just waiting for the government all the time. So clearly what Sename and his team are doing at Wellab, for instance, all this plastic waste, for instance, they find a way of recycling them. If, for instance, you have like a certain amount of plastic, you can exchange it with a good. a food or something like that. So I think these are initiatives that activists are taking to handle it. Maybe at a small level, this level of an area. But I think having this kind of place like a laboratory help us to dig and see what we can do more. But we need also to bear in mind that we are living in countries where the state are very strong, or political state. And when you are doing this kind of action, sometimes even though it's good for the population, it can not be well seen by the government. And it's coming again at the question about what are we sharing and for which purpose? For which purpose? So I don't have the whole answer. I can't answer it for all because that's not my domain of competence. I'm just taking an example for what you are suggesting and what you are doing from this place. But and to finish, I think it's not clearly just a question about how we manage the waste, but also how we produce the waste. And also it touched the question of a society of consumerism. I don't know if that's the word in English, but une société de consommation à outrance, you see, where people just wasting. So I think maybe we should start from that level about how you use things, and then before thinking about how we manage the waste. Thank you. And maybe to finish, and maybe from our perspective in Africa, we also need to see how we can learn from the past. And I think what's very important for me on this project too, there's a lot of things we can say. We have that the time is very limited. But for instance, when I saw that vinyl, for instance, the vinyl that we did, it reminds me a stone that we have here in the past that was used as a currency. And that stone also have a spiritual aspect. You see, people use it to protect themselves. So I think that how, for instance, in the past, our grandparents were dealing with waste. You see, so sometimes we're talking about development as just copying the waste, because today with all these materials coming from abroad, it's not just the waste coming here. All these supermarkets that are just coming out from the ground, etc., etc. It's also maybe sometimes like looking from the past and learn from how people were dealing with those issues. And some of those things that people think, this is barbaric, are coming today as bio. This is bio. This is what our ancestors were doing sometimes. So I think sometimes if you want to project yourself in the future, you need to take time also to see in the back, see how people were doing and not just copying and paste. So yeah, thank you.
Okay, that got a thumbs up from Patrick. So, River, how are we doing on time?
I think we are fine. I wonder if at a very last moment, Ching or Gregor, do you want to add something? No? Ching?
Yeah, maybe I can add something, which is I as a person, I try to also reflect Patrick's question, but it's also, as I always define myself Taiwanese, but who looks like Chinese when you're in Africa. Everybody talk to you if they can speak Mandarin. Actually, many people use Mandarin as also their second languages nowadays in African continent. But anyway, so your identity, my identity, become also very ambiguous there, because obviously, of course, after stakeholder Basel Convention in 2019, Basel Convention, most countries are not allowed actually to export their electricity, especially the very toxic material, to so-called like developing country. And USA didn't sign that. And I think in China, the case is that they're doing the same thing, but inside their country. So which we just mentioned in Guiyu in Guangdong province. And all these places are actually quite sensitive, not only in Agobloshi, in Accra, but also in Guiyu. It's all very sensitive. You are not really allowed to go through this area easily with camera. And the networking there is also very, like they know who are the outsiders, they know who come in, and they know who are ambiguous in that area. So, and for me as an outsider, obviously from my appearance, I think I also have to be aware of my identity when I am engaged in these projects. But as I say from the beginning, I think very important things for me as the learning process, and also when we share the project with you, with the others, it's a sharing of knowledge and the production of knowledge, and I think it's the most important for me and also for Adam, of course. And I will kind of detour again Patrick's question also, because I know that in Taiwan we ourselves produce a lot of garbage, and also I know that in Taiwan we produce a lot of unbelievable amount of plastic. So, and I'm not expert to really track all these plastic and also electric waste, where they go and how we deal with that. But I also hope through these research projects I can start to learn and to go deeper into this process to understand how this structure is built up today behind everything. That's some last words from me. Thank you.
Thanks to all of you. If some of audiences would like to follow up this project, where they can check informations, do you have like project websites or other next, or for example, next presentation in any forms?
Yes, we have a project website. Maybe I start screen sharing again.
Or do you want to type the
So
address?
So it's thecurrency.net. You also see it now on the screen. So this is like the project website, and we have like several sub pages. Like if you click on record, then you can listen to the music and also to the reading the lyrics. But also we have a sub page from this currency lab in Lomé. It's till now it's unfortunately only in French, but in future we will also update the information in English and also putting more images on it. So I think in the future we will use this website like as the point where everything comes together, and we will add more sub pages also for this VR thing. But in the moment we have no other presentations. I think for in the next month we are only just working and researching, and after this process then we will think how we and where we will present it.
Vielen Dank.
Bitte.
Right. So yeah, I mean, I was quite touched by how can I say, like reflecting on to the entire conversation with touching many different aspects. However, among them, there was like a picture on my hand about the one body with two faces of nomadicity and collectivity, that where by traveling around or detouring around this concept of approaching the decolonial practice in the everyday life through the art and the musical components or technology components, that how, as you have all described, how we conflict and at the same time disseminate those perspectives to transcend something, or to remove something, or to really change mindsets to from somewhere to elsewhere. Yeah. Looking
also,
forward.
yeah, but also to make it very material, right? I mean, I think what we saw in the documentation is like, when we're talking about currency and we're talking about, the digital, I think there's the tendency to imagine it as being clean and in some ways very abstract and very kind of like, like bodiless. And what we're seeing is like, the way that it actually does take shape, and there is a kind of like, a
Very important.
rootedness. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's very important, like as a reminder.
Yeah, and that in this way, take that platform to perform that embodiment. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for your sharing, and thank you for the audiences for coming and join this section with us. So if you are interested in this series of researching for the future research project, rehearsing for the future research sharing project, we have some other programs, well, starting from today and will last to Sunday. So can my staff members help typing? Yes, please. Okay, tomorrow we're gonna have the Malay World project revolving around the indigenous diaspora and identities of contemporary situations from New Zealand, Australia, Taiwan, and Singapore and Malaysia. Cool. Thank you. Hopefully see you again and take care.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you to the artists.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Adam.
Bye bye.